July 2009, Barcelona call Inter Milan. They want Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and they'll pay almost anything to get him. Mourinho picks up the phone. He listens to the offer. Then he does something that nobody in football expected. He says yes, immediately, without hesitation. And in that single moment, Mourinho executed the most strategically brilliant piece of transfer business in the history of the Champions League. Because what Barcelona thought they were doing was buying a superstar. What Mourinho was actually doing was winning the treble. The problem Mourinho needed to solve to understand why this transfer was genius. You first have to understand the problem Mourinho was facing heading into the 2009/2010 season. Inter Milan had just won their fifth consecutive Serie A title. Domestically, they were untouchable. But the Champions League, the trophy Mourinho and Inter craved above everything, kept escaping them. The squad was powerful but tactically imbalanced. The core issue was Zlatan himself, not as a player, as a personality. Zlatan had been skipping sessions, creating tension in the dressing room. His relationship with owner Massimo Moratti had soured irreparably. Moratti never forgave him for publicly flirting with other clubs, for suggesting that Inter might not be capable of winning the Champions League. In May 2009, after scoring against Lazio, Zlatan responded to whistles from Inter's own fans by putting his finger to his lips. A gesture of contempt to his own supporters. Mourinho knew the relationship was over. The question was not whether Zlatan would leave. The question was how to turn his departure into an advantage. And then Barcelona called, and Mourinho had his answer. Here are the facts of the transfer. And the facts are extraordinary. Barcelona wanted Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Their president Joan Laporta openly admired him. Agent Mino Raiola flew repeatedly between Italy and Spain negotiating the terms. In July 2009, a meeting was arranged in Milan between Laporta, Barcelona's sporting director Tziki Begiristain, and Inter's owner Moratti. The agreement: Barcelona would pay €46 million in cash, and they would send Samuel Eto'o to Inter as part of the deal. Total value of the transaction officially around €66 million. There's a detail here that almost nobody talks about. Samuel Eto'o at that moment was not an unwanted player. He had just finished the 2008/2009 season with 30 goals in 36 league matches for Barcelona. More than Lionel Messi, he had scored in the Champions League final against Manchester United just weeks earlier. Guardiola wanted a different style of striker, a more mobile, pressing forward who would complement Messi rather than compete with him. So Barcelona essentially gave away their best scorer, a man who had just been more prolific than Messi, along with €46 million. Mourinho received €46 million in cash, offloaded a disruptive asset, and got one of the most lethal strikers in the world, who was furious about how Barcelona had treated him and desperate to prove a point. That combination, quality plus motivation, is the most dangerous thing in football. Mourinho's psychological masterstroke, but signing Eto'o was only half the plan. The other half was what Mourinho did with him after he arrived. Before any contract was signed, Mourinho had been calling Eto'o personally, at least twice a week during the first half of 2009, not to discuss tactics, not to discuss money, to build a relationship, to make Eto'o feel wanted, respected, and valued, everything Barcelona had stopped making him feel. His agent described the moment Eto'o met Mourinho for the first time. From the first meeting with Mourinho, we knew Eto'o would join. No other club had a chance. Then Mourinho did something tactically audacious. He didn't play Eto'o as a center forward, the role he had played for his entire career. He played him as a right winger, asking one of the most prolific strikers in the world to sacrifice his position for the collective. Eto'o accepted, without public complaint, because Mourinho had built enough trust that the player believed in the project. The result was an Inter side that was more defensively compact, more tactically disciplined, and more dangerous on the counter than any version of the team with Zlatan. Eto'o, operating from the right wing, scored 16 goals from an unfamiliar position and provided the defensive work rate that the system demanded. Mourinho had taken a rejected player, rebuilt his confidence, repositioned him tactically, and transformed him into the perfect soldier. Inter versus Barcelona, and then came the Champions League semi-final. April and May 2010, Inter Milan versus FC Barcelona. The team that sold Eto'o against the team built with the money and player they received. Mourinho against Guardiola, the special one against the manager who had just won everything. First leg at the San Siro. Inter win 3-1. Eto'o playing against his former club is unplayable. Barcelona are stunned. Second leg at the Camp Nou. Barcelona need 2 goals to go through. They dominate possession. They attack relentlessly. Mourinho parks the bus 10 men behind the ball. Eto'o the lone outlet on the counter. Barcelona score once. Inter survive. Inter are through to the Champions League final. There is a moment from that night that has become one of the most iconic images in Champions League history. Mourinho running on the Camp Nou pitch after the final whistle, running toward the Inter supporters, celebrating on the ground of the club whose money and whose player he had used to eliminate them. It was not just a football moment, it was Mourinho's statement. I used your tools to beat you. And what happened to Zlatan? Inter went to Madrid. The Champions League final against Bayern Munich. Diego Milito scored twice. Inter won 2-0. The treble Serie A, Coppa Italia, Champions League. The first Italian treble since 1965. Eto'o had been essential, not as the headline name, as the perfect piece of a system designed by the best tactical mind in football. Zlatan won La Liga with Barcelona, 5 trophies in total across his one season. On paper, not a disaster. But he later described his relationship with Guardiola with extraordinary bitterness. In his autobiography, he wrote that Guardiola had stopped speaking to him from February onwards. It started well, but then Messi started to talk, he said, implying that Messi's influence had turned the manager against him. Zlatan left Barcelona after just 1 year. Barcelona sold him to AC Milan, Inter's city rivals, for just 24 million euros. They had paid 66 million euros. They lost 42 million euros on a player in 12 months. Eto'o, meanwhile, had just won the treble. The following season, he scored 37 goals, and he later said something that captures the entire story in one sentence: Inter made the best deal in football history. And Pep Guardiola was the main reason it went through. What this transfer really was: most transfers are about buying a player. You identify a need, you find the best player for that need, you pay the price. What Mourinho did in July 2009 was something categorically different. He used a transfer to solve 4 problems simultaneously. He removed a disruptive personality from his dressing room. He received 46 million euros to strengthen elsewhere. He acquired a motivated, world-class striker who was hungry for revenge. And he sent Barcelona a player whose profile would ultimately destabilize their greatest manager's relationship with their greatest player. He didn't just win the transfer, he used the transfer as a weapon. And 12 months later, on the pitch of the club that had handed him the weapon, he proved it had worked. Mourinho has always said that football is a game of details. In the summer of 2009, the detail was a phone call, a handshake, and the word yes said faster than anyone in football expected. That yes won Inter Milan the Champions League, the best transfer in football history. And it wasn't even a signing. Tell me in the comments, is this Mourinho's greatest ever piece of management, or do you think there's a smarter move in football history? Subscribe to MIG Zone. Every week we go behind the stories. See you in the next one.